Welcome to the Anxious Love Coach podcast, a place for creating meaningful, conscious, secure, long-term partnerships. Here, we talk relationship anxiety and creating healthy, magnetic dynamics within partnership to help you feel confident and alive within committed partnership. My name is Natalie Kennedy, and I'm your host. I'm a relationship anxiety coach and meditation teacher. I've worked with hundreds of clients battling anxiety, and after experiencing extraordinary shifts in my own healing relative to partnership, now combine my lived personal experience and professional training to help others trust themselves within relationship and in their lives. I've been to the edge and back with my now husband from relationship anxiety and come out confidently to the other side. I want to pass the tools I've learned along to you to help you trust yourself in relationships and also create magnetic, hot dynamics with your partner. I believe lots of mainstream relationship advice today can make us anxious and dissatisfied. So let's jump in and normalize challenges that modern relationships and real people go through while also giving you tools to trust yourself, drop the shame, and alchemize your messy, twisted relational truths into profound inner wisdom and aliveness. If you haven't yet, be sure to join my communities over on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Anxious Love Coach. You can also request a 30-minute relationship anxiety assessment with me depending on availability, or ask me a question over on my website at www.anxiouslovecoach.com. I've also got a wonderful relationship anxiety meditation available to you as thanks for subscribing to my email list. Thanks for being here and enjoy this episode. Yes, hello. Thank you for being here again. This might be one of my more meta episodes. If it doesn't land right away, I am sorry. And don't worry, you can listen to it again or not. All right, I want to talk today about illusion and how it plays into our relationships and how it's ruining your sex life and how you can use illusion to improve your sex life. And I'm also going to ruin attraction for you today. All right. Let's start with a paradox. To enjoy sex, you need to work at it intentionally. It's not just something that's going to happen naturally and randomly if you pick the perfect partner. Even with your soulmate, if you're going to be together for a long time and you are planning on being in a relationship for the long haul, you are going to need to work at your sex life intentionally. However, to enjoy sex, you need to be here totally with nowhere else to be. So in that sense, you don't really need to do any work at all unless the work is just being totally here and not needing to be anywhere else other than where you are. Unless the checking out or the mental fantasizing is part of the totally being here. And when I wrote out my notes, I put a little winky emoji here. Okay, so that was a lot of words. To condense it, here's the paradox. To enjoy sex, you need to work at it. But to enjoy sex, you need to completely be here with nowhere else to be. Unless the checking out is part of the being here. AKA, unless the fantasizing and illusions are intentional and not something that happens unintentionally. So, multiple things are true. In my late teens until my early 20s, I was a ravenously sexual creature. I spent a lot of time dressing up, doing my makeup and my hair, wearing nice clothes. And whenever I went on dates, I sort of imagined playing this seductive character, hoping to seduce and be seduced. And as I mentioned in my last podcast with Shayna Hiller, somewhere in my mid-20s, I got the idea that I knew my partner, my now husband, who I met when I was 19. I'm 31 now, but around 25, by 25, I'd been with Preston for almost 6 years. And I got this idea that I knew who he was and I had no more illusions about him. The truth was, or seemed to be, that he was a flawed, no longer exciting human, at least to me. What I didn't understand were the illusions at play. So, seduction in and of itself is an illusion. The illusion was the idea that my partner was this incredible being that could meet needs I was starving to have met since childhood. Things like attention, validation, being showed off, being appreciated. The seduction was the illusion that my partner was this grand person that was going to meet me in the way that I had always wanted to be met. And in exchange, I also put on an act. I put on an act that I was this extremely accepting, encouraging, appreciative person. So interesting, both of us playing a character or fantasy or illusion for the other. Both of us fell for it. And we call it falling in love, but you're not falling in love. You're falling into illusion. Because if you had truly fallen in love, which is unconditional, then when you discovered that they weren't the illusion, you would still love them. But no, because you conditionally love them on that illusion you put on them, then you stop loving them as soon as they don't live up to that standard of them that you created in your head in the beginning. So what happens when we discover that the fantasy characters that you and your partner played at the beginning are false fronts? What do? Underneath, it turns out that my partner's not always doting. He's not always giving me attention. He's not always patient. And I, too, turn out not to be the fantasy character that I portrayed for him. I'm not always patient. I'm not always understanding. I'm critical. I'm nagging. I'm all of these things that he definitely thought I wasn't. Well, we had basically taken off our costumes that we'd been wearing when we first met each other. So he was wearing this costume of being my knight in shining armor. I wore this costume that I was this understanding goddess. And we decided to close that gap and start building a life together. And we took our clothes off and the costumes came off and we discovered who we really were underneath. And we call that becoming disillusioned. We say we fall out of love when this happens, but really we are falling out of illusion. But here's the thing. Did we really fall out of illusion? Are we really seeing them for who they are when the costumes come off? Or think about this. Did we just trade one illusion for another? Because the next illusion that we fall for when the initial illusion falls off was the idea that we now know each other. And this is a whole nother level of suffering. So in the honeymoon illusion, you're chasing this confirmation of the facade. You need to make sure that what you see is what's real. So you explore each other, trying to bridge that gap and learn who the other person is. You take each other's clothes off, you remove the illusions, you discover it's not real, and then you're faced with a decision to either learn to love the real non-illusion seeming person in front of you, or move on and start searching for the next illusion. Go chase the next mirage. And what you'll do is you'll compare your reality, which seems kind of blah in comparison to the mirages that you'll find on TikTok and in Disney and the rose-colored glasses and memories of your ex, which are all curated and not real. So are you going to learn to love what's real, or are you going to move on to the chase, which is in your mind and is all, again, based on illusions? I find it really interesting that after the honeymoon illusion wears off, you start longing for the days of illusion again. You wish that your partner would dress up for you. You wish that your partner would become a little more mysterious to you. You miss missing them, because how can you miss someone when you have them already? Interesting. So we miss missing them, and we miss the not having them. We miss the illusory nature that they used to be. We miss the days when we didn't really know them at all. So we can either fall in love with the knowing of them, or we can question the idea that we think we know them. So some people will break up to go chase the illusion, and they will repeat the process where when you find that illusion, you want to see what's underneath the illusion and close the gap. But again, you'll find reality, which can never live up to the illusion. The reality is so much more nuanced and rich, in my opinion. So you go chasing illusion again, on and on and on. Now, not to say there's anything wrong with this. I even go as far to say, what agonizing fun, especially if you don't understand the nature of illusion. But the chase for illusion and mirage is ephemeral and full of disappointments, just like any other drug that promises a high and an escape from reality. And to be honest, opting out of this game can feel downright depressing. You mean there's nowhere else but here? Well, kind of. If your definition of pleasure and aliveness and infatuation and, dare I say, falling in love rests on the premise of an external thing, such as a perfect soulmate that has something you don't, you're going to be at the mercy of the outcomes of this urgent game of having versus not having. When you have your drug, aka your perfect partner, or your partner lives up to this image of perfection you've created in your head, you're high, complete, and happy. And when you don't have that, you feel incomplete, desperate, and miserable. So let me paraphrase that, because this is really important to understand, and this is how I'm going to ruin attraction for you. The experience of infatuation rests on the premise of you not being complete unto yourself. Because you are going to be infatuated with whomever you perceive has something that you perceive that you are missing. Think about it. If you are utterly complete unto yourself, then no one can complete you, right? So if you are totally fine, alone, without anyone, then why desire a person? And then that makes you wonder, if you don't need anything from anyone, why be in a relationship? Obviously, this is a hypothetical question. We all have needs, and we should enter relationships where we can meet each other's needs. But just play with me for a moment on the hypothetical. If you are complete unto yourself, no one can complete you. But then why be in partnership with people? What is there to desire? How will you, if you are completely rich, if you have tons of money, would you date someone with money? That's kind of what I'm going for. If you are not wounded and healed, why would you go hire a therapist, right? So assume that all of your needs were met. What would make you choose a partner? Why would you choose a partner if all of your needs were met? Think about that. What is there to desire? How would you desire what you already have? Well, assuming that we're complete and that there's nothing to desire, you probably wouldn't feel infatuated with anybody, because there would be no knight in shining armor, because you don't need to be saved. So that is how I ruin attraction for you. Attraction is based on the idea that someone has something you don't, which is an illusion. There's nothing that you don't have within. The more complete you feel inside, the less you will feel like you need somebody else to save you or pull you out of the discomfort of being a human, which is kind of depressing in a way. In a weird way, it's, dare I say, not sexy to heal. I mean, it is, but it's not. I hope you get what I'm saying. So let's say that you are discovering your own completeness and realizing that you don't actually need anybody. But you might still want one. And at that point, we enter a conscious stage of relating. And the purpose of it would not be to look for a knight in shining armor, but we would enter relationship assuming if we're complete unto ourselves, to evolve and learn, most specifically about ourselves. So assuming that you are complete unto yourself and you don't need anyone, if you could have any person you wanted, anyone, eventually you'd get bored, and you would want someone that would present a challenge for you. And you would want someone that would teach you something about yourself. You would want someone that would mirror back to you your own shortcomings. You would want someone that would challenge you. You would want someone that could point out your blind spots. Sure, you could find someone that would never point out your blind spots and would just validate you endlessly and tell you how perfect you are, but you'd get bored. You really would. You would get bored with a savior, someone that could meet every single need of yours and put you in a position to never have to throw a tantrum, because they would just be so perfect for you. You'd be so happy. Eventually, you'd become bored and it would become very empty. So I present you this question again. If you were utterly complete and needed nothing from a partner, why would you choose one? My guess is you would use them to become more self-aware. If you had all the money in the world and beyond, you wouldn't choose someone for money. If you felt utterly enamored with yourself, you wouldn't need someone to validate you. If you felt healed, you wouldn't need a healer. If you were complete, you wouldn't need someone to complete you. Eventually, you would want a person not because they would make you feel complete, because you already are. You would want the person that challenges you and shows you where you're still blind. There's no need to find someone to complete you. You no longer look to the relationship to make you happy. You would use the relationship to become conscious. This is an entirely different way of looking at relationships. You know what the best part is, though? You can do this while you are single or in partnership. Because part of the illusion is that there are mistakes or wrong decisions. When the goal itself is to be in a learning state, then there's never any arrival. So now that we know this, we can go back to the sex topic, and here's how you can improve your sex in your life, your sex life, in two ways. You can either cut through the illusions that are present in your relationship right now. By the way, I think there might be someone playing salsa music in the background. I am very hopeful that you can't hear it, but if not, if you can hear it, you are welcome for the background music. All right, how do you improve your sex in two ways? Number one, you can either cut through the illusions that are present in your relationship. Where are you blind? Where are you hiding? What elephants are in your bedroom? And can you point them out? Or you can choose to intentionally play and create illusions, kind of injecting them back into the relationship. So this would be, an example of this would be to become the person that you fell in love with and have your partner become the person that your partner fell in love with. And your partner could also become the person that you fell in love with. And so in a way, we're putting the illusion back on. We're putting the costumes back on. The issue is actually not the illusion, but the fact that we forgot it was an illusion and mistook it for reality. This is where people get into trouble. They don't realize that an illusion is an illusion. You need to know what's an illusion and what's real. And sometimes what's real is actual, or sometimes an illusion looks really, really convincing. It looks like it's real. And so we need to kind of suspend disbelief a little bit in our lives and realize that on some level, everything's an illusion. Everything external is a matter of perception, and that's subjective. And so all of this is fake. But at the same time, you're here on planet Earth for a reason, to engage with it fully. So again, the illusion is not the problem. If you want to improve your sex life, you need to admit and identify the illusions that are keeping you from seeing more truth in your relationship. Get more radically honest with each other. Share things that are scary to share. Get vulnerable so that you can realize that you don't actually know your partner as well as you thought you did. And you can start to close that gap and feel the desire to close the gap again. Or you can start to play with illusion and add illusion back in. Dress up as a new character that you don't typically dress up as. Be someone different that your partner doesn't recognize and has a desire to close that gap. So you can play with illusion. Have you gotten lazy? Use your imagination to set the scene for the evening, the same way you did in the honeymoon phase. When I first met my husband, I used to, oh my gosh, I'm going to get so, hopefully you don't unsubscribe after hearing me say this, but my insides would turn to water because I was so nervous about seeing my husband. I had such a big crush on him. And that's the part he didn't see, but what he did see was how I did my hair, my makeup. I put on some nice clothes. I kind of pushed my boobs up a little bit so that I look like I have some cleavage. I wore something that gave me a nice butt. I wore nice clean shoes, and I spoke in a way that was very flirty, and I kind of turned my face in this little way, and I lifted my shoulder and exposed my neck and moved my hair around, and I did all these flirty little mysterious things that made him see me as this seductress character. But deep down, I just had diarrhea because I was so nervous, and I farted the same like everybody else. But we kind of intentionally hide those aspects of ourselves in a manner to seduce, just like animals do in the animal kingdom. So it's an illusion. The seduction is a total illusion, but does that mean it's bad and we should kick it out? No, there's some beauty to it. When I make content on social media, there's a reason I curate it, because people have short attention spans. And so I intentionally curate it. When I make my podcasts, I have Preston intentionally cut out the ums and uhs. The ums and uhs make it more authentic. I actually stutter a little bit more in real life than I do in my podcast, but it shortens the podcast and it makes it a more enjoyable experience for you. In other words, whenever I have a podcast or I make content, I make sure the lighting's good, I put on some makeup. There's nothing wrong with not doing that, but I curate it so that it's more pleasant for the person on the other end. It's the same in marriage. So curate your presentation to your partner, create an illusion, something for them to wonder about and want to uncover. And this is kind of how the game is played. When you were in the honeymoon phase, did you put a ton of effort into your dates before you saw them? Chances are you probably did, and your partner appreciated it. And then somewhere in there, we got lazy and decided that once we had them, we don't need to do that anymore. That's another illusion, that once you have them, you're done. Well, you don't actually have them. They could leave you any day. So it's worth challenging that illusion. Was it not a deliberate curation of yourself to sell the idea to someone to fall in love or have sex with you? Have you utterly forgotten the playfulness and imagination required to seduce? Things to think about. Anyway, when I think about this stuff, it blows my mind. It blew my mind when I finally understood that attraction and infatuation was a result of illusions that we have about people. We don't necessarily fall in love with reality unless we're very intentional about it and we choose to kind of take a tantric approach to life where we make the mundane sacred. That's one way. You can make the mundane sacred. Or you can curate the mundane so that it looks curated and it looks like a mirage, and you can use that to seduce. So those are kind of the ways I would suggest at its core to inject more aliveness into your life. Use illusions for good, but do remember that they are illusions. Do not mistake reality. Do not mistake illusions for reality. So I hope this episode boggled your mind as much as these principles boggle my mind to think about. Anyone that you're attracted to, you're not actually attracted to them. You're attracted to the illusion of them. Yeah, so that's that. In my last episode on a similar topic, I brought on a dear friend of mine named Shayna Hiller. She's a Tao Tantric priestess trained in the shamanic arts. And I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be co-hosting a masterclass called the Sex Anxiety Clinic on Thursday, March 14th at 2 p.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Eastern. Should be about an hour and a half, and we're going to open up for Q&A and sharing at the end. This is a virtual experiential event for awakening pleasure and releasing dread and shame in the bedroom. Open to all genders, anyone who experiences anxiety and overwhelm related to sex and intimacy. Please know that in this day and age, it's very common and understandable to have sex anxiety, especially given the modern pace of life and endless comparisons of what sex should look like and feel like. So Shayna and I wanted to create an event to help you understand what's going on underneath your dread, and also give you a couple rituals that you can do to create more openness for the experience of lovemaking and arousal. We'll teach you one that you can do with your partner to open up the flow of communication and help you see each other on a more deep level and remove the illusions, dare I say. And then another ritual that you can do with yourself that is really going to be really beautiful. It can help you clear emotions like resentment and dread, disgust, shame. It's a profound practice. I can't wait to share it with you. If you can't make it, don't worry. We're going to be sending out the recording to all participants. So it's going to be a really, really beautiful session. And afterwards, Shayna's going to be talking about her training that's coming up in Bali, which I went to last year, and I got my certification also at the Embodied Wisdom Academy. So it's been a really beautiful process for me to understand how my female sexuality works. But just know that this event about sex anxiety, it's going to be open to all. Just know that arousal and turn on, it starts with you. So if you want to hear more, listen to the episode right before this one that I did with Shayna. And if you know for sure you want to register or you're going to want to watch it after, by all means, I'm going to be including the link in the show notes. And also, if you are in Both Feet In Abridged, this is complimentary. So please do not purchase it. You can find it in the Both Feet In course. And if you're listening to this later, Both Feet In Abridged. I have an old version, a long course called Both Feet In, and I have another course that I'm currently working on called Both Feet In Abridged. It's the same course, it's just more concise. This one is going to be including the Sex Anxiety Masterclass. So again, if you're in Both Feet In Abridged, you do not need to purchase the Sex Anxiety Masterclass. It is included in your curriculum. And for those of you listening later, the Sex Anxiety Masterclass is going to be included also in the Both Feet In Abridged curriculum. But if you're not in that and you just want to do this masterclass, I'm going to include the link in the show notes so that you can sign up. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you in the next one. Take care. Thanks so much for listening to The Anxious Love Coach today. If you loved this episode, please hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And maybe share it with someone that you believe might benefit from these perspectives. Please also subscribe to my email list at www.anxiouslovecoach.com, as I'm trying to reduce my reliance on social media. In exchange, you will receive my free relationship anxiety meditation and more supportive tools sent your way. If you would like to work with me, head on over to my website at, again, anxiouslovecoach.com to explore different tiers of coaching options and online programs. Thanks again for listening, and catch you in the next episode. Have a blessed day.